Welcome everyone to the Resilient Minds podcast. I'm excited today. I'm here with a friend that we've gotten to know each other since being at Life and Wealth in Fiji. And Peter, is it Mather? Mather is the way I
Right,
pronounce your
bang
last
on.
name.
Bang on. Yeah,
So
you got it bang on.
I'm here with Peter Mather, and I want to just highlight, the reason that this man is really important to my heart is the way that he continues to show up in community and the way that I see the consistent devotion and dedication to be in service to others. It's profound. The level of energy you bring to the table, my friend, the level of, curiosity, the openness, and the willing to be present. It's really something that I am very fond of because it's something that is very important, I believe. And this is really fundamentally the golden rule of life is do unto others as you would like to have done to yourself. But Peter, first of all, thank you for being here. Welcome to the show. And I'd love if you can just kind of give a little bit of insight about you, your knowledge, what you're up to in the world, and what you're curating in life, man.
Thank you very much for the beautiful intro. And it was funny actually because, you know, I'm wearing the hat very similar to what Brian Bradley was wearing the other day. And I mean, I don't know how I'm going to follow Brian Bradley, to be brutally honest, but what I am going to do is this. And to take that off to start with, right? And then I got a bit of a bad hair day, but it's all good. It's all good. So yeah, thank you for the beautiful intro. We got to meet in Fiji at Life Wealth Mastery. It was absolutely stunning. For me, my story is a long story, but right now my objective is to serve other people because I want to be served in that manner as well. Right
Beautiful.
now I'm building 14 companies at the minute and firework businesses, which is just getting really kind of busy right now. It's coming to the season. I have a skydiving business with two aeroplanes as well, so two Cessna Caravans. I'm a
Wow.
professional skydiver. Love to jump out of airplanes. Love to change people's lives as well. And that's another avenue that when we set that business up, I didn't really see it when we first started it, but the beautiful gift I get to do is every year I get to change a minimum like of 2,000 to 3,500 people's lives by them jumping out of an aeroplane. And that's one of the things that I love to do is, and you said it so beautifully, Eric, is serve people because of the fact that that's what I get growth from. I learn from that. I learned from you. I've learned from so many other people across the world. And it's just a great privilege to be actually here, as in on this podcast, speaking to you, being part of this beautiful community, being part of universe, the world, just being able to stand up, talk, hear, see, you know, and my belief is that if we were all like this, but just in a different level, but all committed to serving and committed to serving ourselves as well as other people, then the world would be in a lot better place. And that's one of my mission statements in life. My mission is to share my story with the world and inspire more people to live.
I love it, brother. Well, I think that that's exactly what you're doing by being a tremendous example. And, I'd love to get deep into your story because I think that this is part of being on here is really helping highlight your experience of life. And so on the podcast, the Resilient Minds podcast, I always talk about how our experience of life has cultivated our why, our big purpose. And
Beautiful
this
question.
fundamentally, I believe is what we're all here to do is to get curious about our experience so that we can manifest an even bigger purpose. And so, what was it maybe back when in your experiences? Maybe you can take us back to that breaking point that really gave you that liftoff or that opportunity to start seeing things from a different map of the world. If you can take us back, man, I'd be really grateful. So you can take us through
Of
the story,
course.
bro.
Yeah, I'll take you back. I mean, so from the age of, let's just say from a very young age, I've been a very driven human being, very energetic, very high energy, beautiful state, but also was struggling with um, self-belief, and not understanding myself in the manners that I really wanted to. And then at the age of 18, I kind of joined all the bar work stuff and I started doing a lot of bar work. And then I ended up I'm going to say in the right circle. And the reason I'm going to say this is because at the time it was the wrong circle, but now I can see it was the right circle because I ended up in the drug industry and I ended up in the drug scene and I ended up becoming a cocaine addict at the age of probably around about 18 and a half, 19. And then I had an heart attack from a cocaine overdose at 21. Uh, and they brought me back to life in the ambulance. So, and from there, you would have said that that would really have changed my outlook on life, but it really didn't. It really didn't. And that continued for 17, nearly 18 years continuously of going on this big roller coaster of knowing that there's something else out there and really knowing it inside of me, but not knowing what it was and not really going to a place where I could really find it. And then I got to a point in COVID where I bought a business. So I bought the skydiving business. Um, and then I was in the Caribbean with my ex-partner at the time, and we were together. Beautiful holiday, absolutely amazing holiday. We were on a beautiful it's catamaran. That was it. It was like a big, massive catamaran with all of her family. Her family was a sailors, and all of a sudden we signed on the dotted line. I was in the Caribbean. My business partners were in the UK. We signed on the dotted line with the solicitors, and then everybody started talking about this COVID. And we were like, what's this COVID all about? And we were in the middle of the sea in Grenada. And the next minute, everything was shutting down and it was COVID. And we took over the business. And 3 days after we took over a multi-million pound business, oops, sorry about that. The government decided that they were going to shut us down. And that's where my real like self-esteem really came in and didn't know what to do. And this whole kind of building aspect of I don't know what to do came in. And the only way that I could really get away from what I was feeling was by turning back to drugs and not even alcohol. It was just complete drugs. So I just went back to cocaine. I went back to ecstasy. I was started to do it pretty much every day. The skydiving center opened and I stopped it. And then every single moment, Eric, that I got to be away from work or something that was not taking my mind off me, then immediately I would be going getting drugs. Immediately. Like I remember driving away from the skydiving center and driving on the way home back to like it was a 2.5 hour drive and knowing a route where I could pick up drugs on the way so that when I got home, I had them and I was okay with it. And that's where it got to that point. And I was still with the girl, my ex-partner at this time. And it kind of got to a really toxic environment where I didn't know what I was kind of controlling it, but not controlling it. And it was in control of me. And I'll admit to anybody out there right now, and I said this to you when we first met, I was a complete cocaine addict. Like I was waking up at 9 o'clock in the morning, 10 o'clock in the morning, whatever. And the first thing I was doing was taking drugs. And I was going through the day and to the point that I'd have people, I'd employ people to drive me around. So I wasn't driving whilst under the influence of drugs in the end, you know. And in the UK, we had a second lockdown, and it was in November, and they picked it on the busiest day of the year for me, which was November the 5th. And prior to that, my then partner decided that she was going to leave to go to Portugal. So she left me, and she said, "See what happens after fireworks season had finished." So I kind of just had to deal with fireworks. I had people around me that were driving me, dealing with stuff, and I was continuing doing the drugs, you know. Um, and then I decided, I woke up one morning and, I'll tell this story, I'll tell this bit because this bit I've never told anybody really on a podcast, and you are a true friend to me. And I want to share this bit because I believe it is apparent to the start of the change. And I was stood in one of my shops with five police officers around me trying to close the shop down because it was COVID. And I had pretty much just about 40 minutes before gone and took some drugs, and I was completely off my head trying to speak to five police officers. And I was like, what is going on? Like, what are you doing, Peter? And there was this overwhelming factor that came over to me that was like, Peter, what are you doing? Like, you have a great business. You've got a skydiving business that you've just set up. What are you actually doing? Like, stop, bro, just stop. Like, and I believe now that this was my soul talking to my brain and my heart talking to my brain saying, look around you. And I remember taking a snapshot and I can go right back now and no, I don't even need to close my eyes and just thinking, what the fuck are you doing? And I remember saying them words right in my head. And from that moment, I said, enough was enough. There's got to be something better out there. And I decided at that moment then that I was going to change and I was going to stop everything. And I was going to go out to Portugal and I was going to go and save my relationship. And it was going to be amazing. And that's what I decided. So I finished work, did everything, went to bed. 4 days later, I got in the car and I drove all the way down to the dock in Southampton, which was a 3 hour drive. And I was so determined. I was this burning desire, absolute burning desire. And when you've had that burning, like literally, it's so wanting to get out that you just know you're on the right path. So
Mhm.
I get over there and I listen to the book The Secret on the way. So I'm like, this is cool. Like I'm absorbing all this energy from listening to The Secret. I do the whole trip to Portugal. I sleep for like 3 hours, 4 hours. I get to Portugal. I'm super excited. I'm like, here I am. And then I start talking to my partner at the time. And she was like, well, yeah, we're going to try again. And I was like, I was just on this trajectory of like, shit is really happening. Like, this is awesome. And then one day I get up and I'm like super excited to go see her. And I'm like, yes, here we go. And I bought her some massive bunch of flowers and I turned up. And then when I got out of the car, she said to me, I want to speak to you. And I was like, oh. And when you just have that feeling inside that kind of like really you just kind of know there's something not right. Kind of had that feeling inside. So she took the flowers inside and we walked down to the beach and I'll never forget the feeling that I had running through my body was it was so heightened with my senses that I could literally smell the sea air. I could feel the breeze crossing my face. I could hear the waves just crashing all on the side of the rocks. And then when I got down to the sand, I could feel the warmth and then coldness of the sand all the way through my toes. And it was like this whole kind of body was like ingrained into the universe. And I was like, this can only be good. Like I've been listening to The Secret, and this is only going to be good, right? So I then sat down on the beach, and she just looked at me and she just said, "I'm sorry, I can't be with you no more." And my whole heart just completely crumbled. Like I went from being on such a high to a point within 20 minutes, I had just crumbled and crushed. And I drove all the way out there. And the things I was saying to myself at the time were, I've drove all the way out here. I've stopped all the drugs. I'm on this new path. I know that this is the right thing to do. but what's the point now? Because I've just lost the last thing. I don't know what the business is going to do. I don't know how the business is going to survive. I don't know what's going to go on. And I was creating all these stories in my head where I was like, I just didn't know what to do. And the tears were running down my face and I couldn't barely breathe. And I was like, and when you get them kind of really upset kind of moments where you just don't know what to do. And I just decided at that moment that enough was enough and I didn't want to live no more. And what was the point of living? You know, at that point, I believed that no one loved me no more. She didn't want to be with me. My businesses were, we didn't know what was going to happen with COVID, and I was just like, well, what's the point? I remember getting back in the car and sitting there and thinking, okay, the secret was wrong. I did all these affirmations that they asked me to do, and they didn't come true. And what did I do wrong? And I'm like, well, you know what? I'm going to visualize driving off a cliff because if I'm going to take my life, I'm going to do it in one go and I'm going to take the car with me. So I visualized driving the car to the cliff and driving off the cliff and the car going off and going through the air and then the front end hitting the water and the water bush straight through. And I visualized the whole thing because for like 6 days prior to that, all I'd done was visualize affirmations and understand what the secret teaches you. So I literally was implementing what they teach me on how to kill myself. And I decided, okay, you know, I'm not meant to be here no more. So I started the car up and I started to drive to where I knew that I could get onto the grass. And I got onto the grass and I kept going. And I was probably about 200 to 150 yards away from the cliff and I could see the sea coming closer to me. And I was at this moment saying, well, no one gives a fuck. No one cares about me. What's the point? And then all of a sudden the phone rung. And on the dashboard where the sat nav is, on my car at the time, it came up with a red and green button. And I had the opportunity then to either decline the call and keep driving or press the green button and answer the call. And I made the decision to push the green button. I pushed the green button and it was my business partner on the end of the phone that said, how you doing, big man? And as soon as he said, how you doing, big man, I just slammed the brakes on and I was about 100 yards away from the cliff. And I just broke down and started crying. And I really started to cry. And it was a person that at the time, he didn't really know how to deal with, let's say, male emotions, like with people crying. And he didn't know how to deal with that. And all he kept saying to me is, everything all right? And I just kept saying, yeah, everything will be fine. She's left me. It's all over. And he just, now I know what he did. And he didn't even know he did it. He just brought the pattern and he said, it's okay. Don't worry about it. You want a skydiving center, dude. There's going to be plenty of women out there. And all of a sudden, that just brought me into a little bit of laughter. And that then made me realize that there was people out there. There was people out there that actually cared about me. And there was people out there that actually did love me. And they really did want to know how I was. And he just rung me for no reason at all. He just rung me to see how I was. He didn't ring me for any other reason but that. And that was the moment that I made a decision, a super conscious decision about this. There is something better out there. And my purpose in life is not taking drugs and it's not doing this. My purpose is bigger than this in life. And I may not know what it is right now, and I may not have known what it was right then at that moment in time, but I just knew there was a bigger purpose for why I was on this planet, for why I was actually in that moment, why that phone rang, the reason he had that opportunity maybe to not ring me or did ring me and he did. There was no reason behind it. And after I got off the phone, he said to me, please make sure that you get somewhere safe. And I never forget, I went to the petrol station and I just cried, Eric. I just cried and cried and cried in this petrol station. in Portugal, and I was sat at the pump and I was meant to get fuel, and this guy comes knocking out, knocks on the window, bang, 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 and I'm like trying, wind the window down, and he looks at me like, and I just seen humanity at that moment in time where somebody was so angry that I was sat on the forecourt and I hadn't moved, and he just said, "Oh, I'm sorry, are you okay?" And I was like, "I'll be fine," and he goes, "Can I get you a drink?" And I said, "Yeah, can I have a water?" And he said, "Can you just park over on the other side and off the forecourt?" And I said, "Why?" He said, "Well, there's look behind you in the rear view mirror." And I looked behind me, I turned my head and looked behind me, and there was about 15 cars waiting to get fuel because I hadn't moved. So at that moment, then I decided that however and whatever I was going to do, I was going to make the right conscious decision at the right times to make my life a better life. And that's when I started to work on self development, personal development. And I did 3 months of that where it was all kind of working, and it was all about determination. It was all about kind of trying to still using the secret and not really understanding it. And that at the time that book had come to me for some reason, and it was there. And then I flew out to the Caribbean, and I flew out to Curacao. And this was kind of when I coach people or when I speak to people about this, I always say there'll be three things that happen in your life, and it won't be the first one that'll make you change. It won't be the second one, but it will be the third one, and that's when you get enough leverage. And I use that terminology because I learned that from Tony Robbins. Um, and that's when I got enough leverage. I flew out to Curacao. I fell off the wagon, and I remember sitting there. Um, Again, ended up drinking, ended up sniffing a load of cocaine, and I sat there outside of this house that we had. It was not a great house. It was not in a great environment. And I was like, right, this, what am I doing? What am I doing again? And I decided at that moment that it was finished. I was done. I was completely done. This whole better life that I'd done 3 months on. Why was I ruining it for, one night? And then the day after, I drove to a mountain. And on the way back from the mountain, I decided that I wanted to listen to some music, but instead I pushed play on the Audible book, and what popped up? UPW Tony Robbins. And there was a statement in there that changed my whole life. And it was change your environment, change your life. And that was it. From that day on, I knew there was a better purpose. I got more into self development. I started understanding who I am. I started getting coaches. I started getting mentors. I started working, and then I ended up in this community with you. And that's now why my drive is so big to get my story out there, inspire more people to live, because I never want anybody to go through the pain that I did to realize that actually there is a better life out there for us.
Bro, first of all, I just want to acknowledge you for really taking the time to consistently learn about yourself, and the ability to fall off the wagon and get back on, and fall off the wagon, get back on, like uh that's no small feat, like the the relapse of taking drugs is profoundly high, and the fact that you were able to that you relapsed and then still went off again. I mean, I know, from my experience, being addicted to crack, if I relapsed, it's a dark hole,
Mm-hmm.
and the dark hole is a bottomless pit of hell. And so to be able to come out of that multiple times and choose to make a conscious decision to operate from a higher perspective is as a profound power. A profound power that most people don't really understand. Most people, but I do. And
Hmm.
this is a level of internal strength that requires so much uh, certainty in ourselves to consistently move towards something that drives us to a bigger and more purposeful being. And so, you know, in the past, people would tell me that I couldn't do a lot of things, or tell me what I'm limited about. And most of those people that have shared those limitations never went down to that bottomless pit. And so there's an infinite level of resources inside of us when we discover that bottomless pit. And I believe that those of us that have experienced addiction and have had the good fortune and the blessing and the miracle of being able to uh, learn from it gives us an infinite level of responsibility because we've walked through hell to discover heaven. And my brother, I honor the fact that you've walked the path with such a space of um, grace and kindness, and the fact that you're willing to use that as a force for good for people and hold that space for others in the way that you show up, because so many people need us uh, to be able to share these types of responsibilities that most people are choosing to not walk. And uh, I'm grateful that we have met, and I'm grateful that you are sharing these things, because I see the fact that the importance of uh, your being, man, your way of showing up in the world, the way that you're willing to be a light. You don't care what people think, and it's great because this shows me also a beautiful mirror, man. Like I know uh how much and how often people will try to limit us. I know because I've also been there, and I know that you've experienced those limitations from others' perspectives as well.
Hmm.
And what I love is that we can resonate in a place right now where we know that none of that fucking matters because we get to create every single moment, right? So,
100%.
right? And it's like people will tell us what we can't do instead of seeing the solution of what's possible,
Exactly.
right?
So
Uh,
true.
and in and in every moment we get to do that. So I'm curious now that you're seeing the world from those eyes,
Hmm.
from those solution-oriented opportunities in every single beautiful moment. What have been some of these challenges that maybe have approached you from the external world of society, and then as a result allowed you to kind of springboard into a solution-oriented man that's willing to give more than he ever expects to receive?
Thank you so much for that. Is yeah, and I can really relate to you, and I believe that everything happens for a reason all the time, and I'll never forget the time that you sent a message in the group when you was in Fiji and you was meant to leave, and I said, "Don't worry about it because you were meant to be here," and then 2 days later you were at my wedding. I mean, like, and then now I'm following Brian Bradley again on a podcast with you. You know what I mean? So like, and you came into my life for a reason, and I believe that entirely. And all through my life, I have been told that I can't achieve things. All from the day I was pretty much a youngster, from the day I was diagnosed with dyslexia, and and back in the early 90s, it was all late 80s, early 90s, it wasn't a great thing. So all the way through my life, I've been told that I can't do something. The naysayers, as I call them, the people that don't believe that there's an inner power inside of us. And there always is. There slowly is, and and I call it the Matrix. By the way, I call it the Muggle world. I call it the outside world. I call it the Muggle world. This is this is Hogwarts. People that know Harry Potter. This is inside the Matrix. Some people have watched the Matrix, and I don't give a fuck, and never do you. And it's not that we don't give a fuck and we go around and we're twats, right?
Yeah.
We don't give a fuck and we're loving. And that's the best bit about it. Is the outside world doesn't affect me. Even when stuff goes wrong, I use so many new techniques that I've learned from being around people like yourself, around people like my mentor, Jeff Lobeck, who Bill Keefe, who these wonderful people that are just embracing power inside of themselves. And a lot of people that can't get off the wagon, if you want to, go on the wagon and then do all this kind of thing that we both did, they just haven't been. Oh, it's gone really dark. I apologize. It went really dark
Oh, you're
there for a
good.
second. Ooh,
You're
hello. I think because I was just about to say, then people haven't walked that dirty, dark path, and it went dark. um, and created that inner strength inside of us. And my belief is that every single human being has got that. Everybody, everybody to be solution focused. I love it now. I created a game. So what I did is I asked a very important question of myself, and I made a very big, bold statement to myself as well. I asked myself, what did I want in life? And I made that decision. And then I said, after that, the next person or people that get me is going to be the best version of me ever. So
Mm.
when I woke up this morning, I was the best version of me. At 5:47 right now, I am the best version of me. And that is what I say to myself every day. And I luckily met the woman of my dreams, and she gets the best version of me, you know? And that's all I do is I ask the right questions to myself. And I then become solution focused, not problem driven. It's like, where do we, when people say to me, oh, you can't do that. In fact, my business partners, Eric, now say that to me to piss me off. So I do it. So they know my trigger. So they will say to me, like, we wanted to buy a second aeroplane. And I was like, and two of them said, well, we can't do this. And one of them looked at me and he was like, oh, did you just do that on purpose? And they were like, what do you mean? He goes, oh, you just opened freaking Aladdin's Pandora's box right now. And so some of them really, two of my business partners, the one that saved my life, Mike, his name was, I've got three, Nikki and Bryn, two of them use it to their advantage a lot of the time as well, because they know it's a trigger. And a lot of people don't know that trigger, but it's a trigger that's a beautiful trigger that I made for the first time ever. Because normally it's with triggers in your life, everybody else has made them.
Mm.
And I made this trigger to go, if you tell me I can't do this, oh, well, you're going to open something up right now that's not going to stop me, and it's going to keep me going. And that's what it is. That's the whole thing for me is, tell me I can't do something, I'm fucking doing it. Like, and sometimes, and in some aspects, it's not great, because if someone tells me I can't, example, swear on a podcast, which by the way, you didn't, then I really want to fucking do it. So it doesn't always work, but in the right context, it works. And
I
there's some of
always
the
share.
stuff.
I always share. If you tell me that there's rules, I'll find ways to break them.
And I love that. And I'm gonna. By the way, I'm taking that because I really like that.
Uh,
So yeah, and I just found them. I just found them kind of. ways to create an even better life. And we've been in some scenarios where we did life wealth mastery together. And then we've done a lot of UPWs, so have you. We've been in the Tony world, and we've been in the personal development world, and we've done a lot of. You've met way more people than me, and you've interviewed way more people than me, and that's a beautiful gift. But what I believe that industry does also create a beautiful family, and a beautiful world that I call the real world. And by the way, not everybody in that world is in the real world. They're still in the muggle world or the matrix. And then we pop them into either Hogwarts or they come into the matrix inside of it. And we have this beautiful family. And then we create our own meanings, and we create our own sayings, and we create our own ways of being. And, I was talking to a client today, and he says, how do you ask the right questions? I said, it's dead simple. And he's like, what do you mean? I said, well, just have a fucking conversation with yourself. And he's like, what? I'm like, dead simple. Just say, hiya, Peter. And then I answer back, hiya, Peter, how are you doing? Yeah, I'm amazing, thank you. And I have a conversation with myself. It's very simple. It's not a difficult thing to do, but because the outside world, let's call it the Matrix or the Muggle world, I love that, by the way, right? Tells us that if we talk to ourselves, it's the first sign of going insane. It's actually the most craziest thing I've ever heard, because there's only us realistically in this world. It's only us. It's only us. It's internally just us. That's it. It's just our soul, and then our brain, if it chooses to, can try and control it, but it doesn't. And then our soul will make the decision. Our heart will make the decision. And these are some of the things that I've utilized in my very short period of time of being in this. And by the way, Eric, I believe you know this, but I'll say it is, I've only been in this world, as in, let's call it the real world, our world, right? I've only been in it for just over 12 months. You know, I started in March of 2023, and the trajectory of what I am doing and the way my life is and how amazing my life is and the people I get to meet and the energy I get to do and the experiences that we get to share, and even just the hugs, the most amazing powerful hugs. And by the way, why I'm saying that right now, I'm getting so much energy in my legs through the ground, it's insane, right? Because I'm just remembering a hug that we did at UPW in Germany recently, which was insane, in front of 13,000 people, and no one else give a shit. Like, it was just me and Eric, just me and you. That was it.
Yeah.
And
Front
say
row.
again.
Front row.
Yeah, front row. Right. Yeah, front row. Yeah, it was front row as well. Yeah, was front row. Um, and this is the beautiful life that we get to lead. And it truly is. And what a beautiful gift we both went through. What a beautiful gift. It was never a horror. It was never, at the times, there was times when it was horrible. There was times when it was dark. It was really, really dark, deep, dark ends of the earth where I really did go to hell. And I know you went all the way there. And I tell you what, I am now in heaven, and I'm on heaven, because my belief is that heaven is earth. Nothing else. There is no whatever happens after this. That's beautiful. I've been there twice. I know what it looks like to die. I know I've seen the white light. I know what it feels like to go there. I know what it feels like to come out of my body. And this is heaven. This for me right now. And it's only getting better. And the more we talk like this, the more I just get super excited about life. So thank you for bringing me and bringing that question to me right now, because you've just built an even bigger desire inside of my soul and heart and body right now, that it gives me more understanding. And I'm going to use that word because you used it before the call, an understanding. And it's great to peel more layers off. It really is. I love it. I absolutely love it. And I love you, Eric. Thank you so much. I really, yeah, thank you. You just give me a beautiful gift.
Bless you, brother. You're an amazing man. And you're right. We get to now, as we actually observe and see from the map of the world that heaven is here. Now
Hmm.
it's like, now that we know, and now that we choose to have that knowledge and we integrate that cognition, what do we choose to do with it? And this is the greatness part that I really love about the awareness and really stepping into building and curating. Because, and one of the things that I always share, and you've probably heard me say it multiple times, is we are the infrastructure, meaning we as the people. We are the real wealth. We are the real ability to come together to manifest true lasting change. And Tony talks about grace, right? Grace being the fundamental ability to really bring that together. And we stand on his shoulders, right? Like, he stands on a lot of shoulders of amazing teachers. We get to stand on a lot of these teachers' shoulders as well, including Tony. And that is what I believe that we're here to cultivate, is really bringing these Tony talks. There's this beautiful, when he talks, and I'm certain you've heard him say it. The roads that we drive on, the books that we read, we didn't have to do any of that, and we get to learn from all of that. And so now it's about our decision to recognize all of those patterns, utilize them, and really create new ones, so that we build this approach of, now that we know, what are we going to do about it? Now that we know we're in heaven, what are we going to do and build it so that we can actually integrate and take an even more responsible role
Yeah.
uh, to cultivate this more mission oriented approach where our communities continue to operate with each other in harmony. And so, what do you feel in terms of knowing that we are this big lighthouse, right? Knowing that
Hmm.
we are fundamentally here in this planet, which is the lighthouse, and knowing that we have this ability to walk through the darkness, shine a big light, and then really attract even more energy to us, so that we can encourage and empower others to use their passions, their wisdom, their creativity, so that we can enhance the next paradigm, so that our next generations, our children and our children's children, can really live in this heaven that we've curated and built, instead of the way that we had to come up, where our predecessors created so many limitations and put so much lack and scarcity into our minds and hearts, where we had to break those patterns, recognize the benevolence and abundance that we are operating in. And now we get to actually pass that on and encourage our children and our children's children to come from that level of imagination where they get to actually be in that space. How and what do you think that we can do even more as a community to develop as a team?
Well, that's a great question, actually. But uh, my that's a great question because I have thought about that in quite a lot of context. Um, and my understanding of it, just through me, because it only can come through me, is the more people that we can influence with the way we are, is the more light that we can grow in the world.
Mm-hmm.
So by just being us and just being who we are, it's truly the biggest gift that we can give. And it's all good to go and do things for other people and, set charities up, which again I have done and stuff like this. But that is a materialistic thing. And the one thing that I've learned is our biggest and best tool is us.
Amen.
And just to go out there and enlighten people's lives with energy of just speaking to people on the street, saying good morning, good afternoon, how are you doing? Asking people how they are when you go to supermarkets or shops or whatever. It's just this whole kind of energy. And the beautiful thing about it is I really don't see that many upset people around me no more. I really don't, because within 5 seconds or 10 seconds you know, they kind of enlighten. And if I do see them people, then I'm like, cool, that's your prerogative right now. But in the end, and this is the thing I've learned, is that in the end, by just serving yourself to serve other people, then people will start to change around you without you even realizing it. Like my mum has now all of a sudden changed. My beautiful wife is now in this beautiful community. You know, she kind of had the best experience of her lifetime at UPW. And I think, you know, we can all go and do the amazing things like go and do give money away and make this and do this and do this. But I think just being us, you just being you and me just being me and combining two will then just create this amazing energy. And we stand on, you know, we met and again, you know, I want to say thank you to Tony Robbins and Sage Robbins because if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be speaking to you. I said that on another call the other day. So you know, we owe them a huge amount, but also, you know, the predecessors to Tony, you know,
Yeah.
like Jim Rohn. I mean, thank God to Jim Rohn. Like, thank fuck for the guy that told Tony to go on Jim Rohn's seminar and then buy him a ticket. Because if it wasn't for that guy telling Tony Robbins to go on that, we would never be here. We would never be having this conversation. So I thank the guy that told Tony to go on a seminar when he was 17-year old. And the beautiful thing about it, and you touched on it, is grace. Like everybody's just forgets because they get so engrossed in the muggle world and the matrix that they forget just to be able to walk is a blessing. Just be able
Amen.
to talk is a blessing. Just be able to hear is a blessing. I mean, I wear spectacles and you don't. So, you know, you got a bigger blessing than me right now. And you know, it's a question that I've asked myself about how do we continue, and my answer is just be yourself and then build on what we have got right now because so many people out there think that this is going to end when Tony stops doing seminars or Tony stops doing that. I'm going to call complete and I'm going to do a Tony trick. And for people out there that don't either remember that or know what that means, it means bullshit. Like, you know, because we are the future of what they are doing. We are the future of what they're going to him, Dean Graciosi, the likes of Scott Harris, all them type of people, Brian Bradley, all them beautiful people that are in our world, and you know, so many more speakers out there that are on the shoulders of Tony, and they may not say it, but they are. You know, like I'm trying to think of a few others, but you know, and when that is potentially going to come to an end, where example Tony doesn't do any seminars no more. Well, it's our duty to keep that fucker going, not just his, but us, and keep our community going and grow our community as a bigger whole. And it can come from all types of different places. And I know you do a great job with that. You do a fantastic job with that. You do an outstanding job with that. You really do. And you praise where praise is due. When I look at your sheet and it's this call is, I'm like, wow, Eric, you are really, it's like beautiful. And you're an inspiration, you know, and you know, I want to give my gratitude and grace back to you for where you're going with it. And maybe some people may have thought it's a long way of saying just keep doing what you're doing, but well, the best thing about this, and this is what I love about it, is I love peeling layers back. And I don't think we can ever stop peeling layers back. I don't think we can ever stop peeling them layers of how good we can really, 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 really fucking truly be. Like truly be, you know, and we can talk about all types of different people. Let's just look at the person that put us together, which is Tony, right? You know, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, he was not the same human being that he is now. You
Mm.
know, 27 years ago, I definitely know he was not the same human being as he is right now. You know, um, and the growth even to this day that that guy still peeling the layers back off is what makes me and you, I believe, keep wanting to peel more layers off. keep wanting to learn, even though we've. I mean, let me ask you a quick question: how many UPWs have you done?
I think it's now been 9 or 10,
How many?
maybe 9 or 10.
9 or 10, and UPW doesn't change. It's the same kind of. The stories may change a little bit, and the program or the syntax, as they call it, may change a little bit. But realistically, you've heard it 9 or 10 times. How many Date with Destinies have you been to?
3.
Three. Right. So we're now on what? 12 events, right? How many you Life Wealth Masteries have you been to?
That was my first one, Life and Wealth
Okay,
in
so
Fiji.
you've been to one.
Yeah.
Damn, that one failed on me, didn't it?
But the Business Masteries has been also 3 or
There you go,
4.
business
Sorry.
four.
Yeah,
Okay, business
4 of
mastery
those.
two. Didn't you do that recently?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and then because you've done the extreme version, you did all the extras that some people, me and myself, hasn't done yet. And where I'm going with this is that it doesn't matter how many times we've listened to the same stuff, we're always peeling layers back, and it's so beautiful. Repetition, and Tony uses these words. Repetition is the mother of all skill. Damn right, that's the best saying I've ever heard Tony Robbins say in real terms, because it's
There's
so true.
also there's also another one. Consistency is the father of mastery.
Ooh, oh, I like that one. Oh, consistent, and
And
that's so true as well.
that's
That
also
is so true.
Tony's. Tony has
Oh,
also
is it?
shared. Yeah, Tony
Oh,
has also shared that one. So that's he shares both of them, and it's a
I
really
love that.
wise one. Yeah. Oh.
Consistency.
Brother,
Say that again. Sorry, say that again.
consistency is the father of mastery.
Oh, the
And
consistency.
repetition is the mother of skill.
Yeah, he actually said mother of all skill at the last Date with Destiny I did. That's where I got it from, because it really hit me hard, because um he said repetition is the mother of, and then he said all skill. I was like, holy shit! Like, and it was, I'll never. I had a huge breakthrough at Day with Destiny, and it really did change my life. And I'll always remember that moment, because it felt like he got his fist. There was many moments it felt like he got his fist, and he just rammed it straight through my face, and was like, "Wake up!" And I was like, "I'm listening. I'm listening, bro. I'm fucking listening right now." So,
One of
but
the
there's so
one of
many.
the
Go on.
one of the things I just want to share is what I loved about enhance like doing life and wealth after I did all of the other ones, because I did all the other one. It really was it was like a opportunity to see how far I've come by integrating everything else. So like business mastery, date with destiny, even doing, the platinum events, like all of
Mhm.
these events, they come together, and life and
Mhm.
wealth really allowed me, and I think I might have told you this, is that it allowed me to recognize how far I've come, and grateful for the man that I've actually set out to become. And
You
this was
did. I
such a,
remember you saying that.
yeah, so this was such a key, like, identification for me, brother. And I want to acknowledge, because I see that man in you as well, and so this is why it's so profound to be able to connect at this depth of a level, bro. And I just want to acknowledge for being able to come on the show, taking the time, being able to share your story. Before we go, I'd love to know if there's anyone that wants to know more about you, how to connect with you. What's the best way to connect with you, to reach out to you?
Just ask the universe. I'm only joking. That one. It does work now and then, but that one's a little bit broad. No, you can Instagram, Facebook right now. I've got a website being set up in the future. If anybody wants to watch the documentary that was made by me, you can contact Eric, and Eric can
I'll
put
put
you
it
in
in the show
contact with me.
notes. I'll put it in the show
Yeah,
notes.
you know what? Put the video, yeah, put the whole thing in the show notes. That's awesome. Put it all in. And, if people want to get me on Instagram, Peter John Mather 1984, or Peter John Mather on Facebook, and that's how you can get hold of me and say hi. It is what it is.
Okay. And last question before we go. If you had 3 days left to live, what would you do?
Oh, that's, oh my word. How much time have we got? I'd I'd see all the people. The first thing that comes to me is I'd see all the people that I want to say thank you to. Thank you for being part of my life. And after that, I'd want to spend the 3 days with all them people. And I just want to be around them all and share the moments of what I've been through and the laughter and the crying and the memories. And I've never thought about it that way, but so thank you very much. Yeah, that would all I would want to do is just be with the people that I really want to be with and I really want to spend time with and just share moments and memories with, because my belief is that we don't get to do that enough. We really don't get to do that. And on our, let's just say, on our moments where we're going to not be here no more, I never want to have a moment where I say, well, I wish I'd done that. And I've been very, very blessed, super blessed in life to be able to do things that no one's probably ever going to be able to do in their lifetime. And I've been so blessed by it. It's such a beautiful gift that God and the universe has given me to put me in situations where, prime example, I got to marry the love of my life, and I got to have 17 people that I really wanted at my wedding. And unfortunately, my family couldn't be there, and Ash's family couldn't be there. But the people at the time that was chosen to be there, not by me and not by Ash, they were chosen by a higher power to be at my beautiful wedding and Ash's beautiful wedding. And that was a beautiful gift. So for me, to spend time with the people that I wanted to spend time with, and that's it.
That's family of affinity, brother. I love you, bro.
Love you,
And
bro.
thank you so much.